What's going on? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe. And on the phone line from the Roger and JP show and Cox Media Tampa overall, Monika from 102.5 The Bone is on the show. What's going on?
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate that.
How are you holding up? Because 2 years ago when my cat passed away, it was at like 7 p.m. on a Sunday night. And then that Monday, you and Sydney were like in the bone with me while it was like 12 hours after I lost my cat. So I know you recently lost Ocho, and I can completely relate to the loss of a cat because some people look down on cats, but they are a part of the family. So how have you been holding up?
Absolutely. Well, first I want to say I'm so glad that I was there. I can't even believe you were anywhere near coherent 12 hours after it happened, because it's definitely devastating. So I'm glad at least I was there to try and help you along, because I've definitely had experience with it. But yeah, I ain't gonna lie, Ryan, I was a wreck. It was a little bit of a wreck, and it was a week yesterday. Is it 7:58? I do believe I found him, and he was older. He was 16, and he'd been losing weight. The signs were there. He'd been getting frailer and that sort of thing, which happens. And he just found his favorite spot and laid down and went to sleep. And so I'm glad he went peacefully, but still, it doesn't make it any easier as far as grieving him goes. So yeah, I was a bit of a wreck, but I'm doing better each day.
Now, how many cats do you have? Was it just Ocho?
No, it's Ocho and Palo as my other cat. My Palo's going to be 5 next month, so he's younger, but he's confused. Where's Ocho? I actually been finding him laying. He doesn't ever sleep in certain spots, only where Ocho slept, and all of a sudden I'll see Palo there, and so he's trying to figure things out too, and I'm trying to give him a little extra love because it's hard to explain to him. So he's doing all right too, but at least I have him. He's helping me for sure.
Yeah, that's what happened with me too. When my cat died, I have Luna, who now is walking in my apartment across the room, listening. And it's funny, like you sort of want to tell them it's going to be okay, but they give you that sad look. Like I remember I tweeted out a picture of Luna, and you even tweeted something like, "Oh, she looks so sad." Like it's really depressing when like the cats know.
They do. They definitely know, and that's why it's hard too. Because I'm trying to, be strong and not let Palo see me all sad about Ocho, but I am sad. So it's been a weird week. I'm not going to lie to you, but I think we're helping each other, trying to get back to semi-normal. So little Luna is, I'm sure did the same thing for you.
Yeah. And what's funny is, so you guys, Roger and JP, air and replay on Sunday middays to afternoons. And it was very cool to hear the listeners be nice to you about it on social media and on the radio, because I wanted to ask you this. So during the Mike Calta house party, I don't know if he said you're the most hated person in radio that he's ever seen, but the word hate, I don't want to misquote Mike Calta, but he used the word hate, and it was something like he's never seen somebody so hated in radio. How does that make you feel? Because he wanted me to ask you that.
Wow, really? Did he really? That's funny. I didn't hear that on the show. So that's funny, but listen, I am who I am. I've gotten to a point in my life where I don't want to make anybody upset, but at the same time, I'm not going to compromise who I am as a person. So when we talk about on Roger and JP, when we talk about things that are silly, like, say we talk about fair food or whatever, whenever we talk about silly things, all is well in the world. When we talk about something where I have a strong opinion and I'm not really willing to back down or, I'm not going to get trampled over or anything, that's when there seems to be a problem. I don't know. I don't feel hate, but if I don't know, if the listeners honestly have that much feeling towards me, then I would question the listener. I can understand getting upset or wanting to talk to me about things or having a different opinion, but all in all, I feel like on Twitter, I get a lot of mean stuff. So yes, it was nice to hear, just to read a lot of the nice stuff. Unfortunately, Cat had to die for the nice stuff to happen, but that was really, I felt the love there, which I was really grateful for. But I don't know. I didn't realize that was the most, and for Mike Calta to say, he has, and he's done a lot of people. So for me to be the most hated person, I don't know. Do I get like a trophy or a sash or a crown or some sort of nonsense? I'll take it.
Here's why I think it's a good thing, because I get a lot of hate too. The thing is, I interviewed this guy, BJ Shea, who is like a rock and roll morning guy, sort of similar to The Bone, out in Seattle. And he told me, if you're getting hate in 2021 via a radio show, when you got TikTok and you got Netflix to compete with, the fact that you get a lot more than me, but the fact that we both get hate, that means we're doing something right, because you don't want to be overlooked.
Listen, I love the positive spin on it. That's true. Absolutely. What helps me a lot, and what's needed, which is tough, for the way the Roger and JP show works, is, they're in New York and I'm here. So, we're not all in the same room. It can be tricky sometimes, but, what really helps me with all of the listeners, and I shouldn't say that, honestly, for the record, I get a lot of support. There are a lot of people who tweet me and stuff and will say, hang in there, Monika, and that sort of thing. So I'm grateful for the love I do get. But what really, really helps me is when the guys have my back. Roger and JP and Brett will stick up for me if someone's being over the line. Listen, they'll pick on me, but it's like when your family picks on you, it's different than when someone's outside the family picks on me. So I really appreciate the support I get from those guys, and that's what helps me be able to take all the whatever, when it's the heat or whatever, and not, take it personally or get upset by it.
So they began in like July 2015, because it was like around when I joined The Bone. How long until, so, because I moved here in May, but I really didn't begin working until like June. So when they joined The Bone, how long until you began being on the show?
Well, I was on the show from the get, because I had started in December of 2014. But I really don't count that, because you know how it is on the holidays at a radio station. There's nobody there. And I didn't see anybody. Everybody was on vacation. So technically everything kind of started up for me in January. Well, there was a girl who used to work there, who worked middays, and she usually didn't get any time off, because most people have to work during the day and most people have second jobs in radio. So, I was the only one available and had the experience and the training and everything to do what she did. So I would fill in for her a lot. And so she started doing other things. Well, then, so when some shows got shifted, there were other shows that were on the station, and they're not anymore. When they left and when Roger and JP came in, I was on the board already. I had already been there. I was scheduled to be there during the day. Also, they had a little audition in December of 2014, one Saturday afternoon, where they did just a 2-hour show, and I was behind the board for that. So it was just a natural fit. And so I was there from the get, except it was just them at first. And then after a month or so, they brought in the receptionist and promotions girl from up there. Remember her, RBF, Resting Bitch Face?
Yeah.
So they had her on, but not all the time, just a couple of days a week and stuff. And then I remember, because I had to keep in contact with them being in a different studio. And so I would IM on Facebook, JP, and I would say, okay, we're getting ready to go to commercial, or this is a long stop set, or whatever I had to say. I would say it to JP via IM. Well, he started, and I would be talking about a subject, and I would, you know how I am, shocker, I have an opinion, so I would point out something or give him my opinion via IM, and he would say, from the get, he's always said, get on the mic and say it. Why are you typing me? Get on the mic. And I'm like, you know how it is, Ryan. When you it's someone else's show, you don't want to, you're not here to make it about you. So I would do it when he asked me to, but not really any other time. And finally, he just said, Monika, I'm sick of this. You have an open mic. Turn on your mic at the start of the show. Talk when you want to talk. I'm not going to take your messages anymore. And, you're a part of this and everything. So ever since then, I did. I turned on my mic. And I credit JP for being nice enough to include me. And then, of course, Roger and Brett were nothing but welcoming, and kind of just grew from there.
It's funny. The thing with Roger is, I told him this, and I forget the way he explained it on air, but he's hilarious without being funny. Like he'll be very condescending to a listener. Like a guy will call in and babble, and he goes, "Thank you for all that information." And it's the way his cadence and the way he says it, he'll make me laugh for 5 seconds.
I know exactly what you mean, and I don't know if this adds to it or it was because of it or what, but I think it's so subtle. as opposed to JP's in your face saying, like, snoring and saying, or that's enough, or what the hell, or like JP will say it out loud, and Roger is more subtle. But I think, and I hope anyway, and nobody's here to hurt any listeners' feelings or anything like that. We're just happy they're listening and happy they're calling. But when Roger will get like a little, it's not a dig, it's just a little, okay, that's enough, and he says it in his Roger way, I think it's sometimes even funnier, you know, just not coming out and saying it and just making it, for people who heard it, they got it, you know. It's funny. He's a good guy. He cracks me up a lot.
So I was thinking about this before. So like with my brain, I think about things, but I don't write down what I'm going to ask because it's just years of board hopping the Kelta show and hearing him interview that he doesn't really bring prep. But this is one of the main thoughts that came into my mind when I was thinking about this interview. What is the key to like teaching radio? Because there's been other people that no longer work at the Bone that there's one guy that were awful teachers to me. I think you know who it is. Todd was good. They were awful to me. Like they just were not good teachers. But I don't know what you do, but you have this calm presence where I learned perfectly how to run a live broadcast, and it's something you got.
Oh, that's so nice. Oh my God, I love to hear that. Thank you. That is extremely nice. I appreciate that. Listen, here's how I do it. I don't believe in a blanket training process because everybody learns differently. You know, everybody's got a different way of learning. So, and some people are more prepared than others, and some people don't really want to be there. They're just kind of learning this because they were forced to. And there's a lot of different things to factor in. So with you, I knew specifically you were on a mission. Like, this is what you wanted to do. You were serious about it. And that to me, I love to teach people like that because I know it's not going to waste. There are people that I've trained that didn't, you know, bring a notebook to take. They didn't ask any questions, and you can't learn everything in one lesson. And so if you're not taking it seriously, I'm not mad at you. That's cool. That's your life. But I'm not going to put as much into it, or I'm not going to, you know, you come to me if you need help, I'll happily help, but I'm not going to go out of my way for you because you clearly aren't taking this seriously. So I think I like to find out in the beginning, you know, would you prefer to ask questions first? Would you prefer me to tell you everything? And just kind of get a feel for the person who I'm training. And then that person will learn easily. And I won't be wasting my time. It's a win-win. I'm happy to help anybody who wants help. And I always say that to anybody new. Like, if you have any questions, you know, I'm happy. I'm here to help. I know how overwhelming it can be in the beginning. So that's totally cool. But come to me. And if you don't, that's cool. I ain't mad at you. Just, you know, I'm here if I want to help, if you need help. And I'm so, that's so nice of you to say. And I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Thank you, Ryan.
Well, I'm being serious too, because like it took me, I would like mess up early on, like 2015 through 2017, 2018. And when I began doing live broadcasts, like the fishing shows on the weekend, it was like Michael like forced me. It was sort of like I'll never forget. I was at the May the 4th Be With You bar call, and I was decently drunk. I like took an Uber there. I was safe and everything, but it was after running the Johnny B live broadcast, and I was really nervous. And he was just kind of like, hey, do you want to work 12 hours on the weekend? And I'm like, that's long. And he's like, I guess you don't want any opportunity then. So it's kind of like, I feel like the key to radio is you really got to want it, because there's a lot of people that say they want it. And there's people that have literally quit the Bone and gone to a worse situation. And then I hear from people that they miss being at the Bone. So it's like you literally, you can't go entitled. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I know that it felt personal in that scenario that you just mentioned with Mike, who, by the way, is just perfect for, I'm so grateful for him, and being able to, so I did work under him for a while now. Now John Brennan's my direct supervisor, but you know, Mike O was there when I first got started. But in that scenario, I can understand how you take it personally, but that's probably one of the first things I tell people. And when I was an instructor at CSB and stuff, I mean, it's everybody done it. Like Mike Calta has done the crap shifts. Like everybody has done the things you don't want to do, the long shifts, and it seems thankless, and you're doing stuff that you wonder why you're doing this. How is this going to get me what I want? Everybody has done it. And it's, I think, part of the process that helps you become confident, being able to do more. That's how you learn. You don't even know you're learning when you're doing those crap shifts, but you are. And when you do get put in a scenario where it's going to be something you want to do, you're going to have a lot more confidence because you did the reps. You know, you put the time in. So, I mean, props to you for hanging in there, because I know you did get initially you got a lot, and you've been through a lot at the Bone, actually, ups and downs. And to hang in there, to me, means that you obviously really want it and are, you know, able to do or willing to do what it takes to get what you want. So good for you for hanging in there. Not everybody does.
I just kind of had a wake up call. I don't even know what day it was. It was probably when I began doing like the working on the weekend. I think it's kind of when I was like, okay, I got to make this happen, because like filling in occasionally, it felt like it was just kind of a hobby. Like, and then I was just working all the promotion gigs. But then when all my part-time hours went to board hopping on the weekend, that's when it felt more legit, and it's weird at the bone, because like I talk to other people that work in different towns. They're just literally just sitting there board hopping like a national show. So people can complain occasionally about the pay or whatever, but like working at the Bone gives you great opportunity because everybody's live, and it's even Roger and JP do a localized show out of New York. So like none of it's syndicated.
Yeah. And you know what? You're right. It's all about, and I completely understand the like you said, having a shift here and having a shift there. The consistency is key to give you that confidence and the experience that you need. Before I worked at Cox Media Group, I worked at, I was at CBS, which is now Beasley, but I worked there. And when I was part-time there, before I became full-time, it was very frustrating to me because I was completely inconsistent. I worked literally on every station except the Spanish station. I don't speak Spanish. So I worked on all of them. And so one day I would be on Smooth Jazz, and one day I'd be on Wild, and one day I'd be on Q105, and it would just be, and I'd have to bring a Post-it with me to remind myself of the call letters of the station I was at. And all I could think of was, I'd be really good at this if I could stay at one station with one time slot all the time versus having to, go up and down the hallway all the time. And then I was doing traffic and weather and, news, and I was just doing everything all up and down the hallway, which was nice for experience. And that part was cool. And to, be able to put all of that on my resume, have all those air checks. But I just really wanted something consistent, which is another reason why I was so happy when Roger and JP and this whole thing happened, because it's something that I can, it's a normal thing. Monday through Friday, I have something consistent, and it's easy to be better at something when that happens. So I completely understand what you're saying. In 12 hours, it's a long shift. But at the same time, that's what you're doing on Saturdays, right? So
it's perfect. And I mean, did you work? I know before I moved here, there was sports radio at like 98.7. Did you work there?
Yes, I was full time actually at the Fan, and yeah, I mean, I'm a big sports girl, so that was the dream gig. I had a blast working there, and I worked. Well, I did a bunch of different things there, but I started out as news updates or sports updates. So that was when I first started, and then I ended up getting on with the night show. I ended up splitting it, and I was working on the country station during the day, and then the sports station at night. I was all over the place, but it was nice to be full time, as you know, is a real rare thing in radio, not easy to find or get. And it was sports. I got to watch sports and then talk about it. It was definitely something, and I met a lot of great people and had a really good time. It's unfortunate that it didn't last, but I really enjoyed it while it did.
I forget where I was, or if I was on some message board, or I saw somebody that worked there and they had like people talking back and forth. But I remember like hearing that like it was a lot of fun to work there, but it was kind of disappointing that the ratings weren't there. I don't know where I read it, but I think it was maybe on somebody's Twitter feed, Yeah,
and and it is unfortunate the way it went down. And everybody's going to point fingers at everybody else and all the different departments and management and all. Everybody's going to always point fingers, but the bottom line is because all those people that are pointing fingers, I think each part had something to do with it. In other words, if they would have all been on the same page or all working towards the same goal, it might have ended up different. But I mean, who knows? It had its time, and I'm very grateful for it. I really am. I had a blast on that station, and I miss everybody. We had a little mini reunion a couple years ago where the people that were in town and a couple of people from out of town came in, and we just kind of relived the glory days. And we'll always be connected to that, which is nice.
So, what got you into radio?
Okay, I was just talking to Garrett about this today, actually. Long story short, I did go back to school until I was 30. I was 30 when I started college, basically. And I didn't know what I really wanted to do, but one of the classes I was taking had us take a tour of a broadcast. It could be TV or radio, and I chose radio. Me and the other girl were the only two who chose radio, and everybody else chose TV. And I got to tell you, Ryan, and again, I didn't really know what I was doing or what I really wanted to do, but I walked in, and ironically, it was wild. I took a tour of the CBS stations. I ended up working there. But walked into Wild, and Special Ed, I don't know if you remember him or if you know him, but he was working there at the time. He was giving the tour, and he took us into Wild first, and I remember just walking in and thinking, oh, yeah, this is this is what I want to do right here. It was like this weird feeling that washed over me, and that's how I knew. It wasn't like, I'd love to tell you I was 8 years old and I wanted it. No, none of that happened. I just started when I was 30, and then after that, I was like, well, this is what I'm going to strive for, and so I just went for it after that and did what I had to do to make sure that I got in radio, and it was harder for me because I wasn't, 19 and 20 and the college kid who got all the attention and everything. So it was a little tougher for me. I'm lucky I look a little younger, but I don't look 18. I'm lucky I look a little younger, but, I did what I had to do. Worked hard, learned, paid attention, did what they asked me to. Here I am.
How many Thanksgivings and Christmases did you work?
Too many to count, but it's part of the process. It really is. I mean, like I said earlier, everybody's done it. Like, you look at anybody in the radio station, they've all done it. So, I mean, it's not fun, but I couldn't complain. I knew it was coming. I knew it was part of it. The one thing I did avoid for the longest time was overnights. I'm like, I'll do anything. I'll work all the holidays. They just don't want to work overnights ever. And I did end up having to work overnights. And oh my God, Ryan, at the time, it was for an AM station who's listening. And B, it was a comedy. It was a comedy network. So literally all night was just a bunch of different comedy routines, like one against the other, and then commercials. And once an hour, I would play the legal ID. Back then there were carts. Once an hour, I'd plug the legal ID in, take it out. And that was my job, to stay awake for it. Oh, it was funny at first because I didn't know the routines, and then once I could recite the comedy routines, and it just was not the most fun time. But we all did overnight, so I had to do it, I guess.
I did overnights like 6 to 3 years ago for 3 years, and the worst part about it is when the sun comes up. That was the hardest.
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute, I've been here all night. Yes, I have, and it depends on. So my boss initially did like a midnight to 6, it's a long shift. Overnight shifts are longer. It's just the way it is. I don't care. And then he would say, okay, can you come in at 11? Okay, can you stay till 7? Okay, can you come in at 10? Like, he kept making the shift longer. I'm like, dude, this is overnight. Let's make this as nice as possible. And then eventually I got the guy who usually came in to relieve me was always late, and he was always drunk, and he was, he was calling in sick and everything. So finally just like, can you stay, Monika? And it's kind of like what you said earlier. You just say yes. So I did, and I just learned that part of it. And next thing you know, I just got into that other end of it and didn't have to work overnights anymore.
Would you say that working at the Bone has been your favorite place?
It's so tough because there's literally, you know how I am. There's always something good I can glean out of each individual situation. I've had so much fun with so many, and the coworkers are different. The Bone, I would say, is only because we get to talk sports sometimes. I'd say sports was the dream gig, but this being a part of what I'm a part of now is so rare, and the way it came together, I would definitely say it's my favorite show. Absolutely, 1,000%, and I'm so grateful for it.
Do you ever, now I know you're near the same age as Roger and JP, but do you ever get advice from them?
You know what's funny? I know, you're exactly right. It ain't like, I'm a teenager and they're the daddy figures. But honestly, I go to them more than people probably know. And they have been so great with advice. I've had conversations with JP, believe it or not. Everybody thinks, we're down each other's throats all the time. But I've had phone conversations with that guy for hours. I don't know about hours, but for an hour. And really just discussing things and options and advice and that sort of thing. And same thing with Roger. I've definitely talked to him about some serious life stuff. So I do appreciate them, even though, they're so far away. I do appreciate them being there for me, both for at work stuff, but also personal stuff. And they've been extreme. Poor Roger. I apologize to him too, because he called me. I had texted them, I probably won't be in work tomorrow after Ocha passed away. And he called me, and I think I was hysterical. I mean, I was like crying. I'm like, ah. And I'm like, the next day, I'm like, sorry, Roger, I must have been completely incoherent. He's like, no. So he was really concerned, and he was super sweet when he called. And so, we just kind of built a weird sort of long distance bond that works for our show. So it's pretty cool.
It's sort of humorous. Like 2 weeks ago, I interviewed Brett for about 40 minutes on the show, and then we spoke for another 80 minutes. It was insane. Once we went off air, and we were just talking about like him meeting Anthony Cumia from Opie and Anthony, and then we started talking about other things in radio, and then it was just like the sun was like going down, and I was like, oh my God, I've been talking to Brett forever.
What's funny is when they used to be able to come down. I know it's been a while since they have, but he and I hung, because, usually we're discussing work stuff, or even on the phone or via text, it'll still be, a little cut to the point. But when they came down and he and I hung out, without having to, do a work anything, and with some friends of mine, and I got to tell you, he was a good time. He was a lot of fun. I mean, I know he's chill anyway, but he just wasn't, go with the flow, fun guy, and it was very cool to be able to have a little bit of time like that with him, and no work involved.
So now, before I let you go, when it's all said and done, how do you want people to remember you in radio?
Oh man,
I ask this to everybody, every single person I interview. I ask.
I would hope that they would think of me as a hard worker, who they can depend on. I'd like to be known as dependable, and someone that they can rely on, type of thing, and a person who appreciated my radio time. That's what I would really like. That I didn't take it for granted or become, obnoxious. I just want to be, known that I was appreciative and dependable. Is that weird?
No, not at all. That's a good answer. I've interviewed some egomaniacs, and they're like, I want them to remember the ratings I had and the revenue I brought in. And no, I like that answer.
Okay.
Where can people find your social media, and how can they hear the show?
The Roger and JP show is on Monday through Friday, 11A to 2P on 102.5 The Bone. It's on the app. It's on, it streams. So it's definitely listenable wherever y'all are. I can't talk anymore. Socials. Okay. On Twitter, I'm Bill's Fan Monika. On IG, I'm Radio Runner Girl. And yes, I did all of these separate because I don't like the stalkers who put two and two together and get creepy. And then on Facebook, which I rarely do, I'm Monika with a K Madison. And that's the same for Snapchat, Monika with a K Madison. I'm not on anything else.
You don't need to be. Monika, thank you so much. I had the hardest time learning how to do live broadcasts, but when I started doing the weekend board hopping and Mike O had me watch you do Roger and JP, that was like the icing on the cake. So thank you again for training me, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. I'm happy I could help.
Awesome. Thank you, Monika.